There is less than 90 days until your exam starts, so if you're not getting the grades that you need right now, you're running out of time. This is where the Einstein Framework comes in. This is a simple and effective process to get you the grades that you need. So let me show you how. We created the Einstein Framework because we knew students needed an efficient and effective solution to passing their exams. We knew they needed this because not so long ago, we were also in the exact same position. The school environment is not always conducive to learning. Students have little one-to-one time due to the rise in class sizes, so we knew that developing a proper one-to-one experience was going to be pivotal for every student's learning. We created a system that drew upon the evidence we collected from thousands of hours of tutoring over various different platforms, where we receive reviews like this. This is how we know this system is the most effective system you are going to use. We draw on ideas from a plethora of different fields, accelerated learning ideas to create optimal learning practices, a focus on developmental practices to ensure our students truly understand, methods in teaching that are rooted in the neuroscience and psychology's most recent breakthroughs, a focus on developing tools for thought by focusing on metacognition so that students can truly evaluate their learning processes and alter them on the fly if they're not working, optimal processes for our sessions that every single tutor we hire is well versed in. As well as this, we have ideas from other fields like personal knowledge management and holistic development to ensure you get the most out of the shortest period of time with us. So here's the process we'll take you through. When you book your call with us, you'll be taken through an extremely short set of questions so we can ascertain whether we can actually get results for you. We do not want to waste your time, so we need to understand this part. This also gives us enough knowledge for our sales call where we will create an effective plan for how we can structure your revision. Worst case scenario, you don't come with us, you still get an effective plan that you can follow for your revision. Once you've signed on, that's where the real magic starts. Everything we do is rooted within the data that we collect. This is to ensure we're focusing on the actual problem areas. Students and also many tutors skip this part, which means that they focus on things that aren't really problematic, which means there's vulnerable areas of each subject that are getting left behind, and you're only going to figure that out when you walk into that exam hall and you can't answer a question. To collect this data, we get you to fill out a rag sheet. This essentially rates your knowledge on each topic on a scale of red, amber, or green. But this isn't enough. Having a student identify where they're struggling is a good start, but there are multiple levels of learning, and if a topic falls on the bottom layer, then you probably don't even realise you don't actually understand it. So we also get you to complete a quiz on each of the major topics for every single subject. This is to ensure that we have two sources of data that we can base your revision and your questions upon. We will then have another call. This is our next steps call, where we'll outline in a lot more detail what you need to be focusing on. One of the most fundamental pieces of our process is to be there to keep you accountable. Prepping for exams is stressful. We've been there and the majority of us are still doing exams for our degrees. So we make sure we give you the support you need by keeping up as much contact as possible, because that's exactly what we'd have wanted in your position. Within this call, we'll direct you to our Introduction to Revision course. This is personally something that I've spent hundreds of hours on, because every single student I've had over the last 2 years has never been taught how to learn or revise properly. This isn't your fault, this is your school's fault. This is the fact it's not taught properly. The methods we teach are simple. Time here is of course of the essence, so we make sure that we have taken out all of the fluff and focused only on the core processes. In a few short videos, we'll direct you on how to actually start remembering things. Rereading your notes over and over is not going to help you revise, and if you're currently doing that, I'm sure you've already noticed. As well as this, we will outline to you the structure of our sessions. Typically, we offer 2 lessons a week. However, dependent on your knowledge base, this may differ. However, we'll make you aware of this in the sales call. We don't want to spring any more financial commitment on you than necessary, so we also offer discounted lessons for any lesson over that 2-hour period. We truly care about our students doing well, and that's why we offer this. Finally, in this call, you'll be told about the revision questions you'll be given. Every question you answer will be marked the same day, and you'll be given targeted feedback based upon your answer. In combination with the knowledge about how to revise properly, this will improve your grades exponentially. Our one-to-one sessions are the product of well over 1,000 hours of direct teaching time, so we have designed a perfect system. We use only expert tutors who have brilliant reviews when we hire them, so we can actually vouch for all of them. On top of this, Ella, who is our head of tutors, as well as I, spend hours coaching them through the best practices, so you can rest assured you're getting the very best. The structure of our lessons is very simple but very effective. We'll start with an introduction to the topic material. We use the most up-to-date research to ensure that the way in which we deliver the session is not just based upon the anecdotal evidence we have from our plethora of success stories, but is also supported by the way the brain works in terms of the psychology. This short period of introduction or recap to the topic is done with the purpose of making sense of it all and seeing how this subtopic fits into the larger picture. Students need to develop a complete understanding of how to apply the concepts properly to ensure that they're actually understanding and learning them correctly. As well as this, within the introduction section, it helps our students draw upon their current knowledge. This is vital for learning new concepts or reinforcing them. Neurons that fire together wire together, and making sure this happens effectively is vital. We find most of the time students try to learn ideas in isolation of each other, as if they exist in a vacuum. But that isn't how our brains work, so there's no wonder so many students struggle. Then we start with battling your misconceptions. These are the crux of many students' failings. This is because they're deeply rooted within the knowledge that you have about a certain topic. If you haven't noticed these misconceptions before, it's unlikely you're going to be able to find them again, especially now with so little time to go. So we do the hard work and identify them for you. One-to-one sessions are absolutely perfect for overcoming these misconceptions because we can disprove them logically. A good tutor should be much like a good doctor. They need to be able to diagnose the problem and reverse it instead of simply bandaging it. We make sure that we find the root cause and fix it so that it doesn't trip you up in that exam. Then we move into the distillation phase. This phase is vital and it is a way of learning that students as well as professionals need to start getting better at. In your GCSEs, you are going to encounter a lot of very core concepts. Your brain, whilst it is amazing and theoretically has no limit on the amount it can memorize, also needs to be helped a little bit. So we do this by progressively summarizing ideas down into the smallest chunks possible, whilst making sure that their essence is still there so you don't lose out on anything. The brain works best in that manner because then it is far easier to remember things in clusters, taking away the cognitive strain. Once we have distilled the topic down and we understand it completely, we move into the application phase. This phase is what we'll spend the majority of the time in. When you're answering your exam style questions, this is exactly what phase you're in. This is because the application phase is the most vital phase for learning. Many people have this misconception that retention is going to come from repeated exposure to an idea. This is simply incorrect. Our brains need to strengthen their ability to recall something. This comes from a plethora of different methods, such as linking ideas together to see how they relate to each other, or through answering exam-style questions, because you will be forced to retrieve the knowledge that is within your head. If all you are doing is rereading your notes or your textbook, you're not going to be learning anything. After the application phase, we move into the feedback phase. This has been designed in a manner that is so conducive to success. Being told you're wrong but not why is no way to give feedback. I have seen this hundreds and hundreds of times, however. So we make sure not just to tell you where you potentially could be making improvements, but also how, what resources to look at, so that you actually have feedback that you can effectively implement. That is our lesson structure in a nutshell. It has been designed with students' best interests in mind, to make sure that they can spend the least amount of time in the lesson space, but get the most amount of benefit. Finally, we have our pre-exam protocols. This starts 2 weeks away from the exam period starting. We know just how stressful it is, so we need to make sure that it is the most relaxing environment possible. Before the core exams, we'll do a webinar on each paper. This is to ensure that the most common misconceptions are eradicated before the exam, and as well as this to make sure that your exam technique is dialed in, so that you can rest assured when you walk into that exam hall, you're going to feel perfectly fine. We also make sure our one-to-one sessions are all about making the final corrections to the problem areas in this phase. This is to ensure that you get that extra boost of confidence that you need. That is the Einstein Framework in its complete form. It is a combination of the greatest ideas from multiple different fields to ensure that you have the best chance for success in your GCSEs.